Over the past few years, D&D has been absolutely exploding, like a party full of wizards that all just hit level 5 and all they want to do is fireball their problems away. It gained a massive amount of popularity with Critical Role, and through that, lots of people began exploring the Outer Realms, some with pre-made modules, and others going down the rabbit hole of creating their own homebrew worlds. Much like any other hobby, this can lead to some good friends, a creative outlet, or dozens of hours self-isolating as you try and create the perfect story arc, only for your players to entirely ignore it as they focus on the dragon they want to seduce instead. If you too want these experiences of being sought after like the mythical hot singles in your area, then look no further than becoming a DM with a homebrew setting. The amount of work you put into the world and the story on the front end of things before you start playing will be inversely related to how much improv, forgetting accents, and utter BS you end up with at the table. Both of these things can be super fun, so honestly just do whatever you enjoy. People get really scared of trying to make a world. So much though that most people don't even start the campaign in the first place. This is a great way to edge your friends by telling them it's almost ready, but not so great a way to actually start a campaign. To remedy this, I'm going to make a simple series about the process of making a homebrew world. This will hopefully be a short and sweet set of videos, and will follow roughly this roadmap. First is the world making, and global prep. Basically deciding the scope of the world that you want to make, be it entirely in a single country or town, across multiple continents, or even across multiple worlds or galaxies like for a space campaign. The scope makes a huge impact as to the level of detail you want to put in to each of the specific facets of your world. The map of a D&D world is like the plated dinner. You can pick if you want the nice fancy china plate that you take out for guests, or if you want the styrofoam container that you just reheat like some stale Chinese food from a week ago. Both are valid options. Secondarily, there's the structure of the world, its gods, if there is any, and the governing body or bodies of the country. This kind of setup is like deciding what kind of food you want on your plate. Do you want some authoritarian chicken, or maybe some socialistic spaghetti for your players? Next is the subscale towns and regions of the world, developing hooks in order to draw interest to certain areas of your maps and let your players explore deeper. Things to rope them into an interesting plotline, or make a fun role-player combat scenario. Once you make some hooks, then you want to flesh out the towns or parts of your world more. It's not worth having a beautifully made hook and storyline prepared, just to toss it into some dumpster fire of a world. It's like buying a $2,000 gaming rig and putting it into a $300 a month apartment. Yeah, who would do that? Either way, once you create all these new details of your town's hooks and world structure, you'll want to update your map. After you've come up with all these new ideas, you want to flow them back into your world. You'll have changed a bunch in your mind with respect to how the map was originally set up, and can adjust to compensate for the changes, like giving your old Ford F-150 some new silicon truck nuts to get it ready for dating. Once you've got a dope new world with sub-areas and hooks, you should create a bunch of characters to fill the world and give it life. There's a few different ways to approach this, and it's a relatively daunting task, which I'll explain when we get there. The last facet of groundwork for the campaign will be the resource prepping. At this point, you'll have created the canvas ready to fill with stories, laughter, and salt, but you'll be missing all the fights, items, magical effects, puzzles, and other fantastical oddities to fill the time between the story with. Once we're here, we can gather all the many tables, charts, and random name generators you'll need, for when our pea-brains can't come up with a fourth goblin name that doesn't rhyme with Boblin after the party decides they're going to befriend your first encounter instead of fighting them. Having all those tools at your disposal will save you in your times of need, and make life easier for when you actually have the time to plan ahead. Lastly, once this is all set up, we can finally get to session 0 and go over some things to chat with your players about, to make sure that the story and the world you've created are something that actually everyone wants to play in, and all of your playstyles work together. This is definitely super important to actually making a fun campaign. After you've assembled all the parts of your world, like pieces of Exodia on your dual disk, you should be ready to run a campaign with new best friends. It can be daunting to start something like this as a DM, but creating a world for everyone to lose themselves in is so rewarding that it shouldn't be understated how it feels to see their shocked and awed faces after a long battle, or hearing the raucous laughter filling a room after some goofy roleplay with a ridiculous NPC. Next time we're going to get into the first step of rough map making. Until then, peace.